Yo, what up? It's your boy Ice, and today we are starting the first ever lore Iron Man ever attempted. So in this video, I'm going to explain what an Iron Man is, how I'm going to do it in lore, and I'm going to walk through all my decks that I have right now to give you an idea of what we're running into. So before we get underway, here we go. So what is an Iron Man? Now, when you think in games, the first thing I think of when I think of Iron Man is that Iron Man is a form of challenge typically done in fighting games, racing games, things of that nature. What it essentially means is that you have to win with every single possible option that you have. So for instance, in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, an Iron Man is completed or is attempted when you try to win a match with every single character that you can possibly play in. And if you lose, you start over. So you have to win in a row. So how are we going to complete an Iron Man in Legends of Runeterra? So here are the rules. Rule number 1, I have to win a game with every single champion in Legends of Runeterra in a row. Rule number 2, every deck can only have 2 champions and I can only use a champion 1 time. And rule number 3, it is gauntlet rules. So if I lose with 1 deck, I have 1 more chance to win a game. And if I lose 2 in a row with 1 deck, then the Iron Man is over and I have to repeat it. At the current time of recording this video, there are 102 champions in Legends of Runeterra. So, if you do the math, that's 51 decks in total. So to select all the decks, we have all the decks here in this wheel. Essentially in this wheel, what I just do is I click it, and then the deck, it spins, it picks a deck. For instance, Nor Elise here. Oh, that's not correct. I have to change that. Things are different. Uh-oh. I'll update this, but essentially I will just play this and then remove it if I win and then do this 51 times. So I have to win with 51 decks. So here's what we're gonna do. Let's go through some of the decks we have. Now, what's interesting to note is I try to have a mixture of competitive decks, fun decks, and then because I have to pair every single champion with another champion and find a pair that is best suited for every single champion that gives me the best chance of winning this Iron Man, some decks are a little bit worse than others and some decks are a little bit better than others. So to get off the bat, we have some very typical decks that you would see. Some not S tier decks, but some very popular decks that are in the meta that are common to see. First off, we had Zed Hecarim. Zed Hecarim is basically a ephemeral based deck where you play Shark Chariot, work them pretty much over and over again. And the reason why this deck is kind of broken is because you have this deck card right here, Dragon Ambush, which allows you to attack when you otherwise should not. So this deck, I really typically don't have problems winning with. I get to have a 1-of a Black Flame, a Black Flame, 1-of Atrocity. So this deck I'm not really concerned about. Deck 2, Ari Kennen, Recall Synergy. It goes without saying, I don't have to go too in depth with that. All the decks that are familiar to you, I'm not going to go too in depth. You'll get to see as I play. Annie Jin is another deck. Now, what's really cool is the next deck is Aphelios Taric. This deck is awesome because you get to, play Taric, rally on Taric, but also with 2 out of the ways, you get to the point where your units will just never die with Divine Judgment or with Taric level up. And with Aphelios giving lifesteal, you pretty much win against aggro decks and can outgrind any potential control decks, barring something crazy. Ash LeBlanc, this is pretty much Ash LeBlanc with Yetis, nothing too crazy. Azir Aurelia, I apologize for the Lords of Legends of Runeterra for playing this deck, but it's hard. I could play Aurelia with Azir with different things, but Aurelia I can't really play with anything different that's not too bad. Barda Ilaoi, another common deck, just a good pairing. Caitlyn Teemo, again, I think the best deck for both of those 2 champions. Diana Nocturne, obvious for the Nightfall synergies, pretty much kind of a fearsome aggro deck, more or less. Draven Vi, this is really a cool kind of mid-range deck, combo deck. You have cool tricks like Survivor Skills, run 3 Triremes, and also 2 Give-It-Alls, because sometimes your boards get out of control. Just have a lot of sticky things, and you also potentially have Vi that has high attack, so Give It All is typically very, very good in this deck. Moving on from there, Jax Ornn, very common weapons. Play Jax. It's a mid-range deck. Pretty consistent, so I'm not too worried about that. Jace Revan. This deck is one of my decks I'm a bit concerned about. This deck is a mid-range deck, but it's essentially a Legion Marauders deck. So the goal is just play Legion Marauders to get it big enough, and potentially play Kyrian Slumpworker with the iterative improvement. So it's not too bad, but it's not as consistent as my other decks. We also, moving on, Jinx Echo. This is given us by one of our followers as well, chat members Queen. This is a very consistent, just kind of aggro tempo deck with Jinx Echo. Pretty popular in the meta, not too bad. Callista Heim. Now this deck seems weird. It was kind of an accidental pairing, but after playing it a couple times, probably 10 or so times, this deck feels really, really good. The key point is you have Hextech Handler. You play that because you're basically a control deck, but Callista brings back the Hextech Handler typically, or it brings back a very, very large Heimerdinger tech card. So this card is really good in the meta because it's control, and with 2 Runations, you pretty much handle all of the big bulky decks like Aatrox and whatnot, what have you. List Karma. Now this deck is exciting. Basically, it's not a great deck. I'm a bit worried about this deck as well, but you have big things, you ramp into big things, and then either you kill them with the big things, or you get Callista's level up and you get to play Big Daddy Watcher and win the game. So I'm a bit worried about this deck, but I wanted to try to mix in fun decks and decent decks as well. Lux Trundle. This is a deck of my own creation. I love this deck. It is a War Mother's Call deck. You just ramp and then you get Lux out, and then you also have a one of Howling Abyss. So you pretty much win. If you can ramp and you get to play War Mother's Call, you typically win. And I get to survive early games with cards such as Avalanche and Blighted Ravine. So pretty good. Ziggs Darius, which is an aggro deck. I'm pretty much worried about this deck the most. This deck is one of my decks I'm a bit concerned about. Basically, it's not a great deck. I'm a bit worried about this deck as well. Pretty much worried about this deck the most because Darius is just such a bad card. It's just such a 6-mana 6/6 overwhelm that turns into a 6/10. It's just, it kind of has to be in an aggro deck. So this is your closeout card. So I just put basically good cards with Ziggs, because all my other landmark base cards are kind of taken right now. Finally, we have Zilean Rise. This deck I tweaked quite a bit, but I think it's in a decent place. Again, Rise I'm a bit worried about. I think this card, you know, it's I don't know if you've seen the win rates with Rise, but they're not the best. I think he's getting better as people learn how to play with him, but hopefully the hope is you lock in Rise and you play against someone who's playing something, either hopefully another Rise deck, so we can beat the Rise matchup. That's the hope. And let's see, I think that runs out our comp. This is the full 52 decks that we're running. So please join the Twitch stream. I'm over at Roselia X Ice. I'm Ice. I play lore. And this Iron Man's gonna be a challenge I'm gonna be doing probably for a while. It might be impossible, it may not be, but at the very least, we're gonna have a fun time doing it. So join the stream, enjoy the YouTube videos that come from it. And while the YouTube videos are going, I'm gonna try to be explaining some of the games from a new player's perspective, but also from very experienced level of gameplay as well. So it's going to be for newbies, but also for experts and people that really want to get the most skill out of lore as possible. So hopefully we do this, we will beat the challenge, and then we become the only person in lore history to complete this Iron Man challenge. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate your time. Like and subscribe, and I will catch you next time. It's gonna... True.